Hey YouTube, welcome to Clix Corner. Today I'm basically just doing a team profile for a team I just used at my last locals, which was a X-Force theme team. Basically centers around the Prime Dreadpool, uses a shifting focus Deadpool as a sort of a secondary attacker, and then a couple of complementary figures, which all seem to synergize really well together, to be honest. Admittedly, there was only 4 people who turned up to this OP kit that we used, which was the Mojoverse one, but ultimately, it's the only team I've taken down to locals this year that's actually been able to win anything, and due to the low numbers, we just did a kind of round robin thing, and I tend to find that you usually lose one game in round robin, but in this instance, I comfortably won all 3, really. It was touch and go in a couple of the games, but at the end of the day, the separation between this team and what it was facing was like really, really big. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because Dreadpool is just so good at living. Like, he ended up on click 2 in my last game, and that is like all the damage he took all day. So yeah, like he does have traded steel energy, but like it rarely seems to actually matter. I mean, obviously you'd rather have it than not have it, but it doesn't seem to actually need to be used most of the time because he's either at range or he's not taking damage. And that's what the interesting thing comes in when we look at his entity and stuff. But first of all, I'm just going to give you a kind of rundown of this figure. Now, first of all, you're going to see 130 points and no damage reduces, and you might be a bit trepidatious about that. I've comfortably played this figure 5 times without any damage reducers on him, and he has died once, and that was because I really needed to run him into sort of against the guy's entire team just to flush him out of a room where he was hiding. And he's taken damage in 2 other games. Now, my win to loss ratio with Dreadpool is like 7 or 8 to 0. He's died once, and he's taken damage in about 3 games where I've ever played him. So yeah, he's surprisingly good, and I think most of the reason for that is this massive 8 range he's got. But also because anything he fights is dead before it gets anywhere near him, because of his like massive attack stats as well. So he might be a bit glass cannony for you, but I think at the end of the day, he can get the job done anyway. So basically, what this is he's got a 12 attack, 12 penetrating with 4 damage. That's what I see it as, really. But in this team build, we completely changed that up, so it's going to be a 12 penetrating attack with significantly more than 3 damage. But we'll get into that in a minute. The first thing you need to start remembering if you were to use this team is the trait to choose an opposing keyword, and at the end of your turn, you get a free attack against a character with that keyword if he hasn't attacked from already this turn. Now, there's 2 ways you can interpret this. You can either pick the most common keyword on your opponent's team, and then you're ensuring yourself a free attack against something at the end of the turns where he needs to clear, which is one way. Or if it's possible, you can look at your opponent's other keywords, and there might be a second one that's common enough for you to get off reasonable amounts of attacks, so that you can have attacks at the end of every turn, in addition to whatever else. So basically, if you choose X-Force, for example, on a character like this, which has lots of Deadpool-y, X-Force-y keywords, and the team is a Weapon X theme team, then, everybody's going to have, like, Weapon X keyword, but a couple of them might have X-Force as well, and then you can attack the ones that don't and get the free attack against the X-Force guy at the end of the turn. I really hoped for, like, an unbelievable shot in my last game where I basically one-hitted the hand spawn in Daredevil and one-hitted Namor as well, but unfortunately it didn't quite go down that well. Severely damaged the Namor, but I missed the Daredevil and took the Mystic's damage, which is how he took the damage in the first place. In fact, I had to rig it so that Brainiac could give him Psychic Blast after taking the Mystic's damage, because obviously Daredevil does it when you miss him as well as when you hit him. So yeah, that didn't go down as well as I'd hoped, but it still severely damaged the Namor, so it's still really worth doing. One of the things I really like about Dreadpool is the sheer amount of keywords he has. Like, Assassin, Martial Artist, and Soldier are like 3 of the best keywords in the game, if they're not the 3 best keywords in the game. And then the others are just sort of, bonus on the top. But I feel like we've talked about this guy enough. So at the moment, he's a 12 penetrating, 4 damage guy with quite a big tuchus behind him. So then we've got Brainiac on him. Now, this could be Brainiac or Eclipso because you only really want the damage buff. and the damage reducer, so it's always going to be impervious on either of them, and you're always going to get the +1. But I use Brainiac partially because I can, and partially because it works a little bit better. I like having the pulse wave on Brainiac because Dreadpool can then take on swarm teams if he's struggling. I like the outwit on Brainiac because he can take out things like Invincible, because that's very important, because the Psychic Blast really isn't going anywhere. The problem is if you actually need to take a power off him other than Impervious, then you're obviously taking a risk. But I'll be honest, I was thinking that the Impervious was going to be a real problem for Dreadpool, but like for people playing against him, but he only had two attacks against him the whole day, and both of those he succeeded his super senses rolls anyway, so the Impervious didn't really matter. This world is running like clockwork. Power is always a good thing to have, and the sidestep might be a bit useful every now and then, you don't really know, but the fact is the synergy of the two of them together is incredibly good, really. And in addition to that, I can say the same for this, which is the Shifting Focus Deadpool. Now, I included the Phase and Teleporty one because I actually have this one, and it's the only one I have with the X-Force keyword. Now, if we're going to take a look at the Deadpool Shifting Focus guys, which we can't because they aren't all here, but the only other one with the X-Force keyword is the Comic Reading X-Force one, which I will definitely be getting to enhance this team, but I don't have at the time. In fact, at this time, I only have this one and the common close combat one. But yeah, they're surprisingly good because his attack values are insane, considering attacking is not his primary function. In one of my games, he actually took Mystic's damage just to put him on to this shape change, which really just didn't help any matter, really. This free action Phase and Teleport is incredibly good. And it's just nice that the Deadpool Shifting Focus guys mostly have like a little movement attack. So like if you're already in the common close combat one, you might be able to sidestep away before you swap into Deadpool and do something else, and vice versa. If you're swapping from this one into that one, you can do your Phase and Teleport first. And the free Phase and Teleport is just amazing. It's so good. This figure itself is really good, and I think it's easily my favourite Deadpool sculpt, because I think it's absolutely beautiful. The next figure on the team is the 35-point line of Dupe. This guy brings so much to the team, I literally can't even sort of begin to explain everything he does, because of the versatility of the Dupe space abilities and so on. They can, you never know what circumstances they're going to be useful for. And also, you never know what you're going to get with his dice roll, of course. So it's going to change games depending on what you do get. He's always got prob, which is very helpful, because one of the major problems of a lot of my teams is that I don't ensure prob is on the team already. And, of course, he's there for theme team probs as well. I haven't yet had this Power Cosmic Team ability one, but this is really pointless unless you're in a Deadpool Shifting Focus which doesn't have willpower, because Dreadpool already has Indomitable, and the Close Combat Deadpool at least already has Indomitable as well. So, yeah, it kind of doesn't matter on this team. The Hailstorm of Mjolnir has really won me a game. It was a game against Punisher Van and a couple of the Weapon Cache Punishers, and I basically shot the van and blew up the Punishers, and it basically won the game for me because you just didn't have anything left to recover with. So, yeah, Dupe was incredibly good, really, because he's such an annoying little support piece, and he's versatile, and he can, one of the things I tried to do with him in one game was I tried to pull someone out of stealth, but instead it didn't really work that way. In fact, it was Sugarman, and then when knocked onto his last click, Sugarman pulled Dupe into him. So, yeah, that kind of worked out the wrong way around, but, yeah, it's just one of the funny things that happens in this game, I guess. The last character on the team is Henry, who, of course, doesn't break theme anymore. This basically means that Dreadpool can carry him around because he's tiny, or he can move around because he's, it's only 7 speed, but it's Phase and Teleport, so he's very versatile. Empower and Enhancement means he's doing +1 to whoever he's adjacent to, whenever whenever they are attacking. So if we take a look at this, we can sort of, if this doesn't take too long to do, just as a bit of a sort of jokey thing. If we change this to a 6, then this is more what the first click of Dreadpool is looking like when we're using him in this team, because is between his perplex, his +1 from Brainiac, and Henry, he's getting +3 to his damage value. Or you can do a 5 damage there and a 13 there, with his own perplex, of course. And you've got Dupe as a sort of helping hand prob as well, just on the off chance. So yeah, it's, all in all, that's kind of the point of the team. You just sort of beef up Dreadpool and hope he doesn't get hit. The last components of the team are my 4 ID cards. Now, the reason I put ID cards on this team is because Dreadpool has got Brainiac on him already, and Deadpool is going to be swapping in and out of shifting focuses anyway. And Dupe doesn't... I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't give Dupe a weapon, but he doesn't really need it. To be honest, I'd rather be trying to get my Hailstorm of Mjolnirs off than trying to attack people with Dupe if he had, like, say, Sword on him. Although, in saying that, I did have to use him to kill off an Atlantean in one game. So, the obvious point fillers were ID cards instead. So, I went for Black Knight with the Defender's War Black Knight on it, of course. He did some great stuff. I really haven't gotten the use out of it that I expected to when I bought it, but that's because of the thought weapons and stuff. The Daredevil ID card, which I absolutely love, with the Defender's War 30.1, so that Dupe can call him in. That did get me a kill in my first game. Spider-Man, which I didn't call in at all, but it was nice to have him around. On this, I had the Superior Force #1, because I feel like he's either just a decent 3 damage, or you can get that close combat expert going, and then he's a solid 5 damage, or 4 damage with 11 attack or something. I also included US Agent, just on the off chance I needed some stealth busting. And in one game I actually sort of did need it, but by that point the Deadpool shifting focus was already dead. Because the focus of the ID cards is that Deadpool can bring them in. Preferably when he's on this phase and teleport dial, because it's probably going to allow him to survive longer. With the exception of Daredevil, so that Dupe can call him in, although anyone can call him in, really. So when Deadpool's already dead, and you need to call in the US Agent to get his inspiration for Dreadpool, but Dreadpool's the only person who can call him in, it doesn't really work. So yeah, he didn't really get much use. He would have in one game, but he didn't in this instance. So the things I'd like to change about the team is the ID cards don't really bring much to it. It'd be interesting to see if other ID cards had more impact on the team, but I'm not too sure. I think maybe Doctor Strange would, because of his inspiration, but I'd have to that's something I'd have to play about a little bit with. I'd rather take off the ID cards for other stuff, but like weapons and objects are just completely pointless. And I don't think there's really any other support figures I can put on the team other than the Serpent and Ape bystanders, which I don't really like using. I don't think there's really much else I can put on the team to boost it in any way, really. I think it's a pretty solid team, even if it has only had 3 opponents in this sort of in this build. And yeah, this really killed a losing streak for me. As I say, it's literally the first team I've played this year that's actually won anything at locals, and mostly at home as well. And yeah, I think Dreadpool is... I just sort of trusted him to break the deadlock, and he did it, and he always does. And this is the second time I've played him in a OP kit, the last time being the second sidekick night, and he's won every game he's been in and all of them. Well, as I say, I've literally played him in 8 games and he's won every single one of them. So yeah, he's such a remarkably good figure. You never know what in this game is going to be really good. But yeah, I'm incredibly proud of how well this team performed. There was a lot of sort of janky jamminess going on as well. Like I just sort of happened to roll onto Dupe's Reign of Mjolnir's when I needed it, and the Mystic's damage putting him onto a shape change definitely didn't help my opponent. And in that game, I basically my opponent was playing a lot of Pog spawners, and I was playing. I managed to win the dice roll, so I put it on the other side of Wakanda, which is Dormammu. Just sort of teleported adjacent to his starting area with a Deadpool and started wrecking stuff up from there. So that didn't go well for him. And then there was some convenient other stuff with the Void Space that just went in my favour. So there was a lot of jamminess, quite a lot of critical hits across the day as well. But yeah, I mean, that just sort of happens sometimes. Some clicks are cursed, some are blessed. Dreadpool for me is definitely blessed. So thank you for watching this video, and yeah, please, like, if you can look into this team because it's not expensive at all. Please subscribe if you'd like to see some more team profiles. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.